Hi class, this is your midweek check-in. Wanted to see how you all were doing. I can't believe we're already at the halfway point of the class. It's going by very fast. I don't know if that's the case for you, but it's definitely the case for me because we've covered so much material in what seems like a short amount of time. We've discussed what a behavior is, factors that influence behaviors, which are, can you tell me what that is? Determinants influence behaviors. And so when we design public health programs, our goal is to influence those determinants, which in turn will change behavior. And so we've looked at different program planning models and gone through a process of conducting an epidemiological profile. We've also discussed in detail, identifying stakeholders and the types of stakeholders that we would partner with, recognizing that some stakeholders would be engaged much more than others, with some bringing in at certain time points, where others may be involved consistently over the course of the program. We've also looked into the conduction of a needs assessment, taking into consideration the different types of data that's collected. Last week, we kind of delved into qualitative data, thinking about focus groups or, interviews or other types of methods. I shared some observational and technology-based methods that are crowdsourcing methods that, I've used and I'm very passionate about. So we've done a lot in 6 weeks, and hopefully you have an understanding of these topics, and through your project you'll be able to demonstrate your application of that. And so in the upcoming weeks we'll get to tackle culture, which is extremely important, as well as theory, behavioral theory, which is one of my favorite topics. So you'll definitely get a pop-up lecture on that. So stay tuned. And this week we're focusing on goals and objectives. And so all of these, cumulatively are setting you up for success as you think about how you want to take what you're learning in the classroom and apply that to what you want to do in your current careers or in your community through a new opportunity or whatsoever. And so although we're just at the midpoint, I think that you can give yourself a round of applause because each of you has actually put in a lot of work in this course. So even if you don't, I'm gonna clap for you. So great job, everybody, seriously. This week, as I mentioned, we're jumping into a super critical topic, developing our goals and objectives. Specifically, you are being introduced to SMART goals. And so many, if not all of you, have heard of SMART goals at some point in your life, whether it was, through work, school, an organization that you may have worked with in some other capacity. But what might be different in this course is that you'll be thinking of it within a different context, and that is with designing public health programs. And so in designing public health programs, you'll think of it at, that broader, macro level view. But you'll also think of it at that individual level, like, okay, what individual behaviors among your program participants do you want to change? Taking into account those determinants that are going to help you change that specific behavior so that you reach your, intended health outcome, which will then influence help you reach your organizational outcomes. Okay. And then let me go a step further, which will then influence or impact, state, local health outcomes, state health outcomes, national health outcomes, like healthy, okay, I had too much caffeine, healthy people, 2020, Healthy People 2030, so on. So good public health practice requires, strong objectives in order to monitor progress toward achieving goals and objectives. And so, in order to achieve goals. So you got to have good objectives to achieve those goals and outcomes. And so many programs and services are funded by grants that require developing and implementing and completing objectives to basically prove your success. And proving the success, really may impact your ability to to continue to receive funding, like existing funding that you may have. It's like, okay, well, are we going to renew this grant? And if you can't prove it, then they're going to be like, no, we're not giving you any money. We didn't see any outcomes. Like, what have you done? But if you're able to show that you were able to do or achieve the outcomes that you set forth early on in the development stage, really in the grant writing stage, then, they may be more inclined to renew the grant. So the goals and objectives are a pretty big deal. All right. And so organizations often struggle to create objectives that accurately measure progress toward a goal and that are meaningful to other team members and stakeholders. And so when you're at the grant writing phase, you have to think about who your stakeholders are, or, your organization has money and you don't need to write a grant. Then, okay, that's still fine. Whether you're writing a grant or whether you have money, you still need to bring all those stakeholders to the table so that you all can collaboratively identify those, goals for your particular program. Because you want to make sure that everyone's, not only the needs of the community are met, but thinking about, what each community partner, like what they need from this particular program. There may be a metric of success that is critical for them to do what they do, or a metric of success that validates their involvement in that particular project. Okay. So yeah, you want to make not everybody happy, but it needs to make sense for the people that are involved. And so, the metrics matter. And if you want to get additional funding, then you have to be able to tell your story and your impact and, the implications for all those partners, those critical stakeholders that are involved. So goals need to be properly constructed to serve as, credible and usable benchmarks by which the results of the work done can be monitored and evaluated. Either it's immediate outputs or, like immediate outcome, or on like a short-term type of situation, or it's terminal impacts on more of like a long-term timeline. And so SMART goals are, if you didn't know, specific, measurable, achievable, or attainable, or attainable. Well, really both. They're relevant and they're also time bound. And so we use them for a number of reasons, some of which are discussed in the video lesson for this week, but I'm going to elaborate on that a little bit more. But we use them to provide, a structured approach to developing and designing our programs and a subsequent work plan. We use them to systematically monitor progress towards a target. They're very important for setting the stage for measuring performance and identifying opportunities for improvement, and succinctly communicating the intended impact and current progress to stakeholders, or as I mentioned before, your funders. And by having, these clear, succinct goals that are smart, it helps you be able to concretely describe how your goals will be met. Okay, again, because these goals are specific. So devoting time and resources early. Okay, so not late, not after you already got a plan, already started the program. That's clearly way too late to start writing, your SMART goals. You need to intentionally write these, for a future, plan, program, or service. And so by starting out with SMART goals, a program or plan can, systematically and meaningfully, measure progress, show achievements. So say your funders, want a midpoint review where you need to say okay, well, have you done on this? Have you done on that? Have you done on that? And if you haven't set up your SMART goals right, and you're going to be it's going to be crickets, silence. But if you've done it right, then you'll be able to, answer them appropriately, and potentially identify areas for improvement. So that's what that midpoint is super important. And we'll talk more a little bit about evaluation later. But if you can course correct at some point, if you're kind of not doing well, then, at the midpoint, then you can kind of say hold up. All right, we need to do some things to get it back on track. So get your metrics together. Bottom line. And you have a couple of activities this week where you'll be charged with creating SMART goals and objectives. So, please put some effort into this, and I know you all will, and ensure that you all meet all of the criteria. I read a recent paper where they were evaluating the SMART goals of 17 different projects across a range of context. And I think only 4 of the 17 projects in this review actually had complete SMART goals. So they were specific, measurable, all of that. So something was missing from 13 of them. So that's kind of an issue. In addition to focusing on goals and objectives, you also have a quiz that covers the first half of the term. So you have an hour to take that at some point this week. Some of you may have already taken it. Mini step 2 is due. So, I know I won't have any issues with that, but just make sure you turn it in on time so that you can start off with the full amount of credit. And lastly, on this past Friday, we posted grades for a few assignments. So please check the grade book and comments if you haven't done so already. And review the comments, take them into consideration, and be thinking about them as you, kind of do your work or wrap things up for mini step 2. Stephanie and I actually put a lot of time and effort into, reading your assignments and making sure that you get, valuable feedback that will help you not only in subsequent assignments in this course, but things that you can, hopefully take, and use with other courses in the program or beyond. So, I encourage you to really read through the feedback. And also, think about, you've just finished this mini step 1. Take a minute, think about, what worked well this time. What didn't work so well with your group per se. Go back to your contract, your partnership contract. Did you all do all those things that you said you were going to do? In terms of how you engage, how you divvy up the work, how you address maybe a peer who's may not be doing their portion of the work. Think about these things, discuss them amongst your team, see where you are, and course correct. We have a few more mini steps coming up, but you don't want to be at the end of the project, at the end of the course rather, like scrambling. So, fix these things early rather than later. Also, I emailed each of you the rubric and comments for mini step 1. And for the next mini step, we will not have to go through that. So I will make sure that I fix the settings in Canvas such that each of you will see the comments and the rubric, and we won't have to do that. So my apologies for that. If you have any questions or need clarification on any of the comments for mini step 1, please reach out to Stephanie or myself. Come to the office hours. Mine are today. Or you can set up an appointment to meet with either of us. Today, my office hour, every week my office hours are at 6, but I have a meeting that I think might run a little late. So I'm going to start them at 6:10. So don't show up at 6 because I won't be there. So I think that's it. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week, and bye.